An NKVD operative steadies his hand against the wooden door frame of a farmhouse, 20 kilometers behind Wehrmacht lines in occupied Byelorussia. March 1943. Through the window, a German liaison officer sits at a kitchen table, reviewing partisan movement reports with two local collaborators. The operative draws the hammer back to single action. The weapon in his hand is front-heavy, ugly, nearly 50 years old. He fires. The sound resembles a book dropped on a wooden floor. The German officer collapses forward onto his maps. His two companions register confusion rather than alarm. Their ears fail to process the muted sound as gunfire. By the time anyone understands what has happened, the operative is gone through the rear stairwell. The weapon that made this possible was designed in 1895 by a Belgian engineer named Nagant. It was, by every modern standard, obsolete. But it possessed one mechanical peculiarity that no other revolver on Earth could match. And that peculiarity turned it into something it was never meant to be: the most effective suppressed pistol of the entire Eastern Front. If you're interested in how wars are actually decided by logistics, math, weapons, and doctrine, subscribe now, turn on notifications, and stay tuned for more in-depth World War II analysis. Let's continue. The problem facing NKVD planners in 1942 was one of arithmetic. German occupation forces controlled territory containing tens of millions of Soviet citizens. Field Marshal Keitel's reprisal directives mandated the execution of 50 to 100 civilians for every Wehrmacht soldier killed by partisans. A single partisan attack costing 3 German lives could trigger reprisals, eliminating entire villages. The mathematics were brutal. Kill loudly, and your own people pay the price. The NKVD needed a way to kill silently. Suppressing a revolver is, under normal circumstances, impossible. On any conventional revolver, a gap exists between the cylinder and the barrel. When the weapon fires, propellant gases escape through this gap with a distinctive crack. No suppressor attached to the barrel can eliminate that sound, because the sound is not coming from the barrel. It is venting sideways from the cylinder gap. This is why the British developed the Welrod as a bolt-action pistol. This is why the Americans used the semi-automatic high-standard HDM. Nobody suppressed revolvers because it could not be done. Except with the Nagant M1895. Our Léon Nagant's design included a mechanism that no other production revolver has ever replicated. When the hammer is cocked, the cylinder moves forward, pressing the tapered mouth of the cartridge case directly against the barrel's forcing cone. This creates a gas-tight seal. No gap, no gas escape. The 7.62 by 38 mm cartridge was designed specifically for this system. The bullet sits entirely within the brass case, allowing the case mouth itself to compress against the barrel entrance during firing. The result is a revolver that behaves acoustically like a sealed breech pistol. The Bramett suppressor, named for the Mighton brothers who developed it, exploited this unique characteristic. It threaded directly onto the Nagant's barrel. Its baffled internal construction dissipated expanding gases through progressive expansion chambers. Combined with subsonic ammunition, the system reduced the weapon's report to something comparable to a hand clap in an enclosed space. At short range, it was easily lost in urban background noise. The combination of the gas seal mechanism, subsonic cartridge, and Bramett suppressor created a weapon system that had no equivalent in any other army's inventory. The specifications tell the story through comparison. A standard 9mm pistol produces approximately 160 decibels at the muzzle. The British Welrod achieved approximately 73 decibels, an extraordinary engineering achievement. But it was a bolt-action single-shot weapon purpose-built for assassination. The American high-standard HDM managed roughly 90 decibels, but fired a .22 caliber round that often required multiple shots and struggled to penetrate heavy winter clothing. The suppressed Nagant delivered effective 7.62mm stopping power at sound levels comparable to the Welrod, using a weapon that had been in continuous production since the Tsarist era. It was not elegant. It was effective. But the weapon carried severe limitations that shaped every operation built around it. The Nagant's loading gate on the right side of the frame required manual ejection of 7 spent cartridges via a rod concealed in the cylinder axis, followed by individual insertion of fresh rounds. A complete reload under field conditions took minutes, not seconds. The double-action trigger pull was notoriously heavy, a direct consequence of the gas seal mechanism that had to push the cylinder forward while cocking the hammer. Single-action operation reduced resistance considerably, but required manual cocking between shots, eliminating any possibility of rapid fire. This was not a combat weapon. It was a single-purpose instrument designed for one task: get close, fire 7 aimed shots, and leave before anyone understands what has happened. The NKVD distributed suppressed Nagants to partisan operatives in occupied Byelorussia beginning in late 1942. Targets were designated according to strategic priority. German civil administrators managing agricultural collection quotas. Auxiliary police commanders coordinating anti-partisan sweeps. Wehrmacht officers controlling municipal occupation zones. Each operative received target dossiers including photographs, daily routines, residence locations, and known security protocols. The NKVD understood mission parameters in stark terms: successful elimination of the designated target, or operative death, during attempt or subsequent interrogation. Women comprised a disproportionate number of these assassination teams, selected for their ability to approach German occupation personnel without immediate suspicion. Survival rates were dismal. Many missions proved effectively suicidal in practice. Wehrmacht security responses to assassination attempts achieved high interdiction rates within the first hour following attacks. One documented operation occurred in October 1942. An NKVD operative entered a German administrative building in central Minsk. She produced the suppressed revolver from beneath her coat and fired multiple rounds into a German officer at point-blank range. The shots sounded like dull thumps. In the corridors filled with typewriters and footsteps, few people realized gunfire had been fired until she was already gone through the rear stairwell. The pattern repeated across occupied territory. Wehrmacht security reports documented it by March 1943. German intelligence staff cataloged dozens of unexplained deaths of occupation personnel in Minsk Oblast. Officers discovered in offices with minimal visible trauma. No ejected cartridge cases. No witness testimony indicating gunfire. Ballistic analysis of recovered projectiles identified 7.62 by 38 mm ammunition, standard NKVD issue, but rounds showed minimal deformation characteristic of reduced velocity discharge. German intelligence files classified the recovered weapons as Geräuschpistole unbekannter Bauart, noise weapon of unknown construction. If you are finding this interesting, a quick subscribe helps more than you know. The assassination campaign forced a response that cost the Wehrmacht far more than the officers it lost. Bodyguard details were assigned to field-grade officers. Security squads consumed manpower. Colonels traveled predictably along main roads, avoiding forest tracks. By spring 1944, the Wehrmacht had diverted hundreds of thousands of troops to rear-area security operations, pulling them from the frontline combat. Each German reprisal sent survivors flooding into the forests, our swelling partisan formations with fighters who had nothing left to lose. The mathematics had reversed. German countermeasures were now costing more than the assassinations themselves. The final chapter came during Operation Bagration in June 1944. Soviet General Staff transmitted attack orders to partisan brigade commanders, synchronizing thousands of rail demolitions with the Red Army's offensive timetable. The suppressed Nagants eliminated sentries protecting rail junctions throughout the critical night before the offensive. By dawn, Wehrmacht logistics officers reported thousands of demolished track sections across the entire theater, isolating forward divisions from ammunition depots hundreds of kilometers westward. The Nagant M1895 was designed in the 19th century for a Tsarist army that no longer existed. It was heavy, or slow to reload, mechanically complex, and by 1942 standards, thoroughly obsolete. But Léon Nagant's gas seal mechanism, a curiosity of Victorian firearms engineering, gave the NKVD something no other army possessed: a suppressed revolver that actually worked. It was never meant to win battles. It was meant to win a different kind of war, one fought in occupied cities, in administrative buildings, in the space between a partisan's coat and a collaborator's skull. And in the grim arithmetic of the Eastern Front, where a single loud gunshot could condemn a village, silence was not a luxury. It was a weapon. History is written by the victors. We read the footnotes. If you enjoyed this story, hit subscribe for more World War II deep dives every week.